welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars so you don't have to, from F1 2010 all the way through to the present day, whenever that may be, and you find us on the cusp of beginning our fifth season, 2014, driving for Caterham in place of Marcus Ericsson. And it's the first big technical reset of the series. We've moved into the turbo hybrid era. No more screaming V8s, just maybe not so great sounding 1.6 litre turbo hybrid engines. More to do with the game than how they sound, although that's personal preference. And we return to the team that was Team Lotus in 2011. After a 2013 that yielded only 1 point, not a single Q2 or Q3, and ended with a little bit of a whimper with a couple of penalties and mistakes and things like that after what was a fairly solid, if unspectacular, season. But it did only end with that single point, which means that we have a really, really low bar to clear in Caterham's last season in the sport. But Australia is our destination for round one. We're still not quite in the era of Bahrain opening the season, but we have now moved to Abu Dhabi closing it. We've got a 19-round calendar ahead of us. We return to Austria for the first time. I say return, as in return to Austria in the sport for the first time in a long time in 2014. It's the first Austria that we will drive in this series. And we'll say hello to Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix a bit later in the season. We've lost India and we've lost Korea. They are no longer on the calendar. But at least we still get to experience the likes of Malaysia as well. Shall we take a little look at who is driving where and talk a little bit about the guys that we're looking out for? So, 2013 ended with Sebastian Vettel taking the title in the final round and Red Bull claiming the Constructors, reclaiming it after losing it to McLaren. That means in our series so far, we've had Red Bull Constructors champions 3 times, McLaren once, 2 drivers' titles for Vettel, 1 for Hamilton, 1 for Mark Webber. Who's it going to be this year? Well, Mercedes in reality were the team to beat. But, as you can see, there's been a bit of shaking up on the grid. Sebastian Vettel remains at Red Bull to defend his title alongside Daniel Ricciardo, who's been promoted from Toro Rosso. Rosberg stays at Mercedes. He'll be joined by Lewis Hamilton, who's around here somewhere. I don't know why it's... there you go, Lewis Hamilton in 20th at the moment. Williams have claimed a Mercedes engine. They'll be moving from the back of the grid to further forward. Massa has moved to Williams to partner Valtteri Bottas. That's kicked Maldonado out of Williams, and he, because everything is all over the place, moves to Lotus to partner Roman Grosjean. We take Marcus Ericsson's spot, and we're partnered by Kamui Kobayashi, returning after a season out of the sport. Raikkonen moves to Ferrari from Lotus to partner Fernando Alonso, while Max Chilton and Jules Bianchi remain at Marussia. Force India has Perez from McLaren, and he's joined by Hulkenberg, who's moved across from Sauber. There he is. And he's on a little swap with Adrian Sutil, who has left Sauber to join Esteban Gutierrez. Kevin Magnussen moves into the seat at McLaren. There's Sutil. There's K-Mag. He will partner Jenson Button. And at Toro Rosso, Verne remains. And Kvyat is promoted from the junior ranks. And as I say, it is the final season for Caterham in the sport, so we're sat in 11th, right at the back, which is where Caterham would have been in reality. We'll be fighting Sauber and Marussia for the most part this season. In the real world, Marussia's claimed 2 points at Monaco, thanks to Jules Bianchi's incredible drive at the Principality, while Sauber and Caterham didn't claim a single point. But you can see we've got Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Williams, Force India, Toro Rosso, and Lotus all still represented as well. It'll be a couple of years before we get a new team in the grid, and then some name changes and some various other bits and pieces, and then we'll get into the kind of grid you'd be expecting to see in 2025. But Australia then, Albert Park, round number 1. And I already feel after the pre-season race at Bahrain, because pre-season was Jerez and Bahrain in 2014 rather than Barcelona and Jerez, I feel like this car might be okay for a lower midfield. It doesn't feel too slow. However, that was in Grand Prix mode. I have seen plenty of more competent drivers take this car on and get so frustrated with driving around on their own at the back, barely even fighting Russia, that they've jumped ship and started again at other teams. So this could be the longest and hardest slog we've had so far in Blue Flag Bandits. Even HRT, we did fairly well, and that car was really slow. So I guess we better go out in practice in Australia and see what this car can do against not just our closest rivals, but everybody else as well. And while we do, we'll talk about the first race of the new era of Formula One, the 2014 Australian Grand Prix. Albert Park was the venue for the opening round of the 2014 season, and it was the dawning of a new era in the sport, this being the first race for the new turbo hybrid engine formula. The first practice session was one of technical gremlins for many, with both Lotus cars, both Caterhams, Kimi Raikkonen, Marussia and Lewis Hamilton all experiencing one issue or another, something many were expecting going into this new season. Alonso would lead the way at the end of the session, ahead of Button and Bottas, Williams underlining their pace early doors. There would still be problems for the Renault-powered cars at the rear of the grid, Caterham still unable to set a lap time, while Maldonado was also unable to leave his garage during practice 2. It'd be Mercedes, however, many commentators' favourites for 2014, who would top the timesheets in the second session, Hamilton ahead of Rosberg, with Fernando Alonso bringing up third. The trio would once again top the times in the final practice session, Rosberg ahead of Hamilton with Alonso in third, though the session would see a few drivers running wide at turn 9, including Lewis Hamilton, while Lotus's woes continued for Grosjean this time, who experienced a misfire and a failing pit limiter. Qualifying began in overcast conditions with the threat of rain ever present, though it wouldn't affect Q1. Lotus continued to struggle, Maldonado unable to set a lap time, and Grosjean could only manage 21st, though he would be elevated by a grid penalty for Esteban Gutierrez. They'd be joined by both Marussia's and one Caterham, that of Marcus Ericsson, while Kobayashi would make it into Q2 in his Caterham, an unusual sight for the back row grid. The rain began into Q2 though, catching out Kimi Raikkonen, the Ferrari driver spinning off the track and destroying the laps of a number of other drivers, notably Jenson Button and Sebastian Vettel. Neither driver able to make it into Q3, eliminated with the Finn, Raikkonen, Perez, Kobayashi and Sutil. The rain intensified into the final part of qualifying, everybody scrambling for full wet tyres. The shootout for pole came down to the two Mercedes cars and Daniel Ricciardo. Hamilton would come out on top, ahead of the home hero, with Rosberg slotting into third. He'd be joined in the second row by debutant Kevin Magnussen, but ain't impressive in his first qualifying session in the McLaren. The top 10 would be completed by Alonso, Verne, Hülkenberg, Kvyat, Massa and Valtteri Bottas. The chaos began on the formation lap, Chilton stalling his Marussia at the start of that lap, while his teammate Bianchi would have an issue just prior to lights out, while Grosjean, starting from the pit lane, would receive a drive-through penalty for leaving his garage before the 15-minute signal. Overall, a bad weekend already for Lotus.
Pushed down to second place.
When the race did start, Kobayashi, Massa and Raikkonen would collide after the Caterham lost its rear brakes, eliminating both Massa and Kobayashi, while Kimi Raikkonen would limp around and continue on. Hamilton would find himself dropping to third by the exit of turn 1 after his Mercedes engine lost a cylinder, making it a V5, allowing Rosberg and Ricciardo to jump him off the line. The Brit would find himself slipping to 5th by the end of the first lap before retiring the car on lap 2, quickly joined by defending champion Vettel, who retired with engine issues a lap later on lap 3. Rosberg would ease away from Daniel Ricciardo at the front, while 3 of the top 5 would be Mercedes-powered cars, underlining their performance, as Alonso was unable to pass the Mercedes-powered Force India of Hulkenberg, even with DRS. Further back, Bottas would make light work of the Toro Rossos before hitting the wall at turn 10, leaving a chunk of wheel behind and necessitating a safety car. Fortunately for Bottas, the damage was slight enough that he could replace his wheel and continue without losing too much time. Rosberg would maintain his lead through the safety car period, bolting once it returned to the pits, never to be seen by another driver again, unless he was lapping them. Rosberg would take the win ahead of Ricciardo and Magnussen, the Dane taking a podium on debut. The celebrations of the home fans would, however, be curtailed some 5 hours after the race, after the FIA disqualified Ricciardo, finding his Red Bull was exceeding the maximum fuel rate use of 100 kilograms an hour. The altered top 10 was led by Rosberg, with both McLarens taking podiums, Magnussen claiming second with Button taking third, his 50th and final podium in Formula 1. Alonso would take fourth, ahead of Bottas, who'd cut his way back through the field, Hulkenberg, Raikkonen, Verne, Kvyat and Perez. And if you look at that top 10, top 3 Mercedes engines, 5th place Mercedes engine, 6th place Mercedes engine, and 10th place Mercedes engine, with Ferrari power kind of following on from there. It's our opening round of a new era, returning to Norfolk with Caterham. What can we dream of in our first qualifying session? Well, judging by our pace in practice, we're going to have a big struggle through 2014, seemingly miles off even our closest rivals, let alone the rest of the grid. Back rows are going to be fairly abundant, I think, so our aim is going to be low. Race 1, that aim is to try and get 20th place and stay off the back row of the grid. Hopefully, though, when it comes to qualifying, the engine turned up maybe just a touch. We might be able to claw ourselves back into some form of contention.
Sector 1, okay. Sector 2, losing a little. Sector 3, your times are well down.
Here we are then in the garage for the first qualifying session of 2014. Practice was not good. We were about 5.5 seconds off the fastest time and actually a fair distance off even the likes of Max Chilton, Kamui Kobayashi and Jules Bianchi. So this is going to be quite a tricky first qualifying session of the year. Hopefully as the season goes on we'll improve. We did last year and by the end of it we were getting closer to almost breaking in to Q2, but I think that's going to be very tough this season. Maybe we'll be better on the softer tyres. Maybe we'll just have a bit more pace in qualifying. Who knows? But it's best to get out there because we're going to have to maximise all the time we can get in Q1. Let's take a look at that fastest lap in qualifying. You can see we're already at the back of the grid and we've just had an invalidated lap as well. As we head into turns 1 and 2, we get a little wind through 2, catch some grass, but it's not a track cut, so we'll take it. Now we're going to try and use as much slipstream as we can from Rosberg, who cuts across us and we're going to go into the back of the Mercedes. We survive though into turn 3, bounce across the curb, and we're just wheel spinning everywhere, such as the layout and makeup of these engines. But we're through Whiteford, looking fairly clean and tidy, if not particularly fast, as we cut the beam at the end of the first sector with 2.5 tenths down on our best. Once again, trying to take every advantage possible. 1.1 seconds off the pace of Perez, who's on the bubble at the end of Q1. Into the chicane at the bottom end of this sort of mid-sector straight that isn't really straight. Fairly clean and tidy through there. Not really too much wheel spin or too much drifting as we get into the next chicane. Half a second down on our best time. Some 2 seconds off the back of Perez. A little wide through the exit of that chicane, but again not too much to disturb us too badly as we head into the final few corners of the lap. Again, just trying to stay neat and tidy. I think at this point we're already aware that this is not going to be a particularly stellar lap. Round in the last couple of corners into this tight left-hander, and we again get a little bit of wheel spin, but it looks clean and tidy, if not massively fast. And we get DRS towards the start-finish line. This lap, though, not even good enough to get off the back of the grid.
Last place, really not what we wanted. Let's see if we can have a better day tomorrow.
Qualifying ends in round 1 in Q1, and by quite some margin. We're 5.1 seconds off the fastest time, 2.1 seconds off Max Chilton. I felt like we were pushing with everything that we had. But this car, against legendary AI, is terrible. Really desperately hoping that as the season progresses, we can move a little bit closer in performance. Maybe it's just this track. Maybe it's not somewhere that I'm particularly strong around, or just not quick enough here. But we're knocked out with Gutierrez, Grosjean in the Lotus showing their dip in form. Kobayashi ahead of Bianchi, Chilton, and then we'll start at the back. So it's going to be quite the difficult race coming up. But hopefully our race pace is better than our quali pace. Free race in the garage then for the Australian Grand Prix 2014. Last place, no real pace at all in qualifying. But the small crumb of comfort, I guess, is that we started 22nd in 2013 and still managed to come through to not finish last. So that's something, maybe. Let's take a look at the grid before we talk about what we're hoping for today. Lewis Hamilton took pole position ahead of Nico Rosberg. Mercedes locking out the front row ahead of an all Red Bull second row. Ricciardo out qualifying his new teammate Sebastian Vettel. Fernando Alonso in 5th in the Ferrari, with Bottas in 6th, Massa in 7th, then Hülkenberg in 8th, carrying on his impressive form from 2013. Perez is 9th, out qualifying his former teammate Jenson Button, who starts 10th. Raikkonen in the Ferrari down in 11th ahead of K-Mag in 12th, and it's Kvyat, Verne, Maldonado and Sutil. And then those of us out in Q1. Gutierrez, Grosjean in the Lotus, Kobayashi, our teammate Bianchi, Chilton and ourselves. And as I said, we started last in 2013 and we didn't finish last. Granted, there were a couple of retirements, and I'm sure there probably will be this season as well. But pace is not our strong suit so far. As I said, way off the pace in qualifying, 5.1 off the pole time in Q1, and also about 2 seconds off Chilton, Bianchi and Kobayashi ahead of us. So we are going to be fighting quite hard for very little today. Such is the way that these games tend to work, that we find ourselves gaining a load of positions off the start as everybody kind of tiptoes their way through the first few corners, first lap or so, and then we just spend our time defending. I feel like that's going to be the case again this season, or at least for the start of it. Hopefully as the year progresses, we'll get a little bit quicker, get some new bits on the car. For this round, I think after the fall off of the last 3 rounds of last season, where we just started making mistakes and picking up penalties after being really kind of solid throughout the year, solid if unspectacular was the mantra for 2013. I think we need to ease our way into 2014 and just try and drive cleanly and survive. With that in mind, beating Marussia and Kobayashi is probably about as good as it's going to get, realistically. So we're going to aim for P19. Hope that maybe there's a couple of retirements up ahead that we can nick some spaces for. But main aim, beat those around us. I'm prolonging the wait for the pain, I think. Shall we get started? Let's go to the grid for the 2014 Australian Grand Prix. All Mercedes front row. Hamilton, Rosberg, there's Kobayashi. There we are. Nobody behind us. Pep talk from engineer Andy on the line. 5 red lights. Away we go at Albert Park. Not too bad a start compared to what we were experiencing through 13. at least a little bit closer to the field as we head down in towards turns 1 and 2. We have to get really late on the brakes and try and dive up the inside of a few people, which is exactly what we do, but we've been forced to the outside. They're 4 wide ahead of us. Now we're back down to last by the end of turn 1. Not good, as we once again dive up the inside of Gutierrez, try and avoid the back of a few people who are struggling. There's Kamui, we've got Chilton on our inside, Kobayashi round Suto. We're going to try and do the same to the Sauber, and we do. Following Kobayashi here, we've got the inside there, drift a little bit, but we're up into P15. Just ahead of Kamui. Still drifting a little bit through the corners, clipping the apexes. Kobayashi now under threat from Maldonado, who I think has got through. He had, and then he's disappeared again, and here comes Kamui once again. Have lost between teammates already, but we managed to keep the Japanese driver behind us. We'll end lap 1 in P15. Not a bad start. Should be on the radio at this point saying that he's faster than me and wants to be let through. I don't want to make it too easy for him. So beating Kobayashi and the Marussias is our kind of primary goal. I don't think we've realistically got the pace to beat anybody else consistently, although both Lotuses are still behind us. At least one, if not both, of the Saubers. Maldonado attempt to move, well, move to the inside to defend, made our one move, a bit late but we made it, and then we hold the Venezuelan off into turn 1. Three of us seem to have broken away from the rest of the chasing pack, at least for the moment. Although I run very wide, Maldonado's going to all over the back of us once again, and Kobayashi's going to come join the party. We hold them both off for now. Maldonado right with us. Go to the inside. Can we outbrake him into turn 1? Try. He runs a little wide, which nearly catches us out. Now Kobayashi's on us. Maldonado might already be about to disappear up the road. And they break too deep into the next corner. Not the strategy as well. I'm pretty sure I spotted a white tyre, yeah. He's on the prime. So we're running longer anyway. Fighting tooth and nail over 16th at the moment. Looks like a few cars further up the order of pitted. Raikkonen's the man in front of us now in the Ferrari. As we squeeze Kobayashi to the grass.
The car ahead is trying to create a gap. He's running full revs, maximum power.
There are cars a little closer up the road, but I think they've all pitted in as Kobayashi looks to the outside of turn 3. We'll hold him off. Looks like Maldonado though. It's feeling like a matter of time. We're a bit wide.
Watch it.
There's contact. Kobayashi stays behind us. Chilton's now the man attacking. bit of a gap back to the rest of the chasing pack, which I think is led by Kobayashi. We're up to 15th. Somebody's out of this race. We're down to 21. Might have been Raikkonen, actually. We'll find out in a minute. Pit stop time, though, for us. Which means Kobayashi's staying out because we're coming in. Grosjean's following us in. He's coming in as well. I think Gutierrez stays out. Chilton stays out.
Go now.
We're not held. At least we hold our position ahead of Bianchi and Grosjean.
Clear of the white line. We don't want a penalty.
It was indeed Kimi Raikkonen who dropped out of this race on his return to Ferrari. A good day for the Iceman. Gutierrez, Kobayashi and Bianchi all in the pits. Can we get back ahead of any of them? Already heading out of the pits. We'll beat Bianchi and Gutierrez. We're going to have
You're just behind Kamui.
turn the engine down a touch, just fuel is optimal.
Is trying to save fuel.
We send one on our teammate, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it work. Retake 15th. And in lean mix still now, just as we're trying to... Oh, Kamui has a look around the outside. There's contact with Grosjean. I was just about to say, we're just trying to get our fuel back to optimal. I mean, we should fall a lap down anyway. I'd rather be ready just in case. Kobayashi already back past the Lotus. Kobayashi and Grosjean trying to go round me. Grosjean will try to go around the outside. We'll hold him off. Kobayashi's really been caught out there because he's fallen behind both Marussias, I think. Maldonado's 51 seconds up the road. That's in 12 laps. Not even 12 because he passed us. What, lap 2, lap 3. So that shows how far off the pace we are. It really feels like we're pushing this car for all it's worth. So, I think even Singapore won't be able to save us this season at this current pace level. There goes Bianchi. He's on the inside, so he'll brake super early, which gives us plenty of opportunity to just sweep back around the outside of the Frenchman. First blue flag of the season, lap 13. Race 1. He should be able to let him through. I was going to say, should be able to let him through without having to back off, but he's taking his sweet time about it.
Car behind is on standard reds. Car behind is running standard reds.
Masses of time. A little queue of cars has once again fallen back.
Okay,
We've got
Nico
Rosberg now behind us. Rosberg it is. Should be able to stay on the inside, and the Mercedes should just breeze around the outside. There he goes. Try and use him for a bit of slipstream. But look, I thought there was a fairly substantial queue of lead cars coming. He's once again backed off. Looks like we've got a Red Bull in behind us now as well. Wondering which one that is. In just a second.
Maldonado will be pitting within the next 3 laps.
Well, Ricardo doing well at his home Grand Prix. We stay to the extreme inside. We have to back off.
Good job, back up to speed.
I
now.
just will
Blue
not
flag no
sweep
longer
round the
applied.
outside there, even with the overspeed. Does mean that Chilton's back with us once again. Red Bull of Sebastian Vettel, though, just in behind him. I was going to say, I'd assume he'll back off. We get DRS from Ricciardo as well. We are going to have to back off a little bit to let Vettel through.
Open, come in this lap.
So I fear we would have just been in front of him through the first couple of corners. Kobayashi, Gutierrez, Sutil all going by. Grosjean looks to be coming in. Looks like Bianchi is as well.
Go.
Boost of other cars.
There's some traffic at the pit
And by the looks
exit.
of it,
Watch out as you rejoin the track.
Then past all the leaders.
Be aware, we think the car behind is trying to save fuel.
Alonso in behind us.
Blue
Come on,
flag
Fernando.
conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Follow the Ferrari through. Alonso down in 8th though. What a bad day. Ferrari coming out. Then Fernando's not starting the season very well as we get that corner all wrong. Maybe just a little too trigger happy, hoping that we didn't career into the back of Ferrari. Run wide. That's going to cost us. And tyres just taking a little bit of time to warm up as we get it all wrong through that chicane. And there's a little bit of contact with Grosjean. Kobayashi's in now. Gutierrez, I think, have carried on. I don't know if we're actually going to get past Kamui here. In the pits. I think he's heading out of the pits. Who have we got coming past us? McLaren of K-Mag. Massa's in behind us as well. That's Kamui moving out of everybody's way. It is. We'll take advantage of that. And let Massa through at the same time. Chilton's just ahead of us as well. Chilton managed to jump us. But again, he's being lapped. He's slowing up to let Massa through, so we'll take that as well. Thank you, Felipe. Williams, a team will be driving for quite a lot in the coming seasons. Giving us an early favour. To our outside, there's Perez. And the Force India will follow him.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Button through on the inside there. Altenberg there as well, I think, and I've kind of cut him off, thinking it was Kobayashi. Kobaya's right behind him. I've got to be careful. Kobayashi, Bianchi, Chilton, almost 3 wide behind me. I think we have now fallen out the pit window to Sutil and Gutierrez. They both appear to be on the primes at the moment. They are going to need to come in, but we're being caught by a lot of faster traffic. If they are as well, then it will benefit us, but right now they look to have broken free, I think. Down to 20 in this race, and it's Sebastian Vettel who's dropped out in the Red Bull. That means we'll at least move into P16. I do think Sutil has come in and got out fairly clear of us. Yeah, there he is. Got down to 10 seconds. He did manage to pit and get out in front of us.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
It's Fernando Alonso. We run wide. There's Vettel listed now in P16. So as soon as we pass where his car ended up, we'll take that 16th spot. He's way off the road, but we are now 16th. We're backing off somebody behind, possibly Daniel Kvyat. It is. Slot just in front of Kobayashi, and only just. A little bit of contact with our teammate. We're struggling with dirty tyres. A general lack of pace anyway. Yellow flag right behind us again. And Kamui Kobayashi is out. We're down to 19 in this race. And Grosjean quite a distance behind. I think he might have just got caught up behind the other Caterham conking out while also being lapped. It does give us just a little bit of breathing room.
Grosjean's following 5 seconds behind you. You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Okay, Massa has fallen out the points. We run wide, let the Williams through. Here comes Grosjean, force him to the outside. Need to make break him into turn one if we can.
It looks like the car ahead is trying to create a gap. He's
A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. We survive it.
Okay,
Was he being lapped by Maldonado? He was. He's being lapped by 12th place past the Maldonado. That one Lotus through and not the other. Which I was going to say we managed to do, and then Grosjean turns in towards us. And we're, I think, about to go 2 laps down. That we are. Lewis Hamilton heading towards us at a fair old speed. So here we are. Sorry, Lewis. We are now 2 laps down as we get caught out by Hamilton, parking it on the apex, and Grosjean passes us. Heading on then to our final lap of this Australian Grand Prix, battling with Max Chilton to hold off the Marussia. Bianchi not with us. Falling off the back of his teammate. We got caught out by Hamilton lapping us for a second time, parked it on the apex, and Grosjean took advantage and has driven off. 16th would have been ours. We could have finished as high as 14th if we'd been able to keep in front of the Sabres post pit stop. But I don't remember the last time we finished 2 laps down in a race. It probably was a Monaco at some point. Feels a little bit worse actually than DNFing twice at Hungary over 2 separate seasons. As Rosberg laps Chilton, so that's going to give me breathing room possibly to the end of the lap here.
Watch out for the car behind. He's only 2 seconds
Comes
down
Rosberg.
on you. He might try and overtake if you make a mistake.
Right to the outside, and Rosberg actually clips the front of the car.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing
He
you
goes
for
through.
position.
But Lewis Hamilton wins to start his season. The pole and the win. Perfect way, as Chilton is going to be right on us to the line. We at least get DRS from Rosberg, but we're going to cross the line in P17. Yeah, a nice achievement for our troubles, such as starting the very first race of the season. But there we go, P17, 2 laps down. but only ahead of Max Chilton, Jules Bianchi, Kamui Kobayashi, Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Räikkönen do not finish the first race of the season. At the top end of things, Lewis Hamilton took the victory ahead of his teammate Nico Rosberg. Ricciardo gets third, and unlike the real-world event, won't be disqualified, so we'll hold on to third ahead of Kevin Magnussen. Perez is fifth, Bottas in sixth, then it's Button, Hulkenberg, Alonso and Massa rounding out the points. Daniel Kvyat just outside the points on debut. Maldonado 12th, ahead of Verne, Sutil, Gutierrez and Grosjean, who jumped us right near the end. That means driver standings exactly as the race. Hamilton leads Rosberg, leads Ricciardo. Magnussen, Perez, Bottas, Button, Hulkenberg, Alonso and Massa, your top 10. We will claim 17th, so we're at least ahead of a Red Bull, a Ferrari, both Mauritius and a Caterham, just because those guys at the bottom didn't finish. In the constructors, though, it's a little bit different. Mercedes have 43 points. They are 25. They're a full one-car race win ahead of McLaren, who are second, who are 3 points ahead of Red Bull, who had a one-car finish with Vettel dropping out. Force India are fourth, ahead of Williams, and then there's Ferrari in sixth, with 2 points ahead of Toro Rosso, Lotus, Sauber. We are 10th. We're ahead of Marussia, based solely on me finishing ahead of both of them. And that was the opening round of the season. We are lacking pace, severely lacking pace. And as I said, just near the death there, I don't remember the last time we finished 2 laps down. But I feel and fear that could be the sign of things to come in 2014. Could have finished as high as 14th if we'd managed to just nick back ahead of Sauber after the pit stops. Should have probably headed up Romain Grosjean if it wasn't for just... I got caught behind Lewis as he was lapping us for the second time. He just seemed to park it on the apex, and that was it. We couldn't get past him. But next race is a pseudo home race for us. While the team's based in Norfolk, they are Malaysian registered. So we head to the Malaysian Grand Prix next, hoping that maybe we can just take a small step towards a few other drivers. Maybe weather will play its part. Maybe we can just at least have a decent first race at home for Caterham. But you know what? Solid, I guess. Solid result. No major contact, no major mistakes, no penalties. At least we're back on that train. And we defended fairly well for the most part against a lot of cars that were an awful lot quicker than we were. It's P17, while a little bit galling to be just that far off the field, at least we finished. And at least we finished ahead of our closest rivals, Marussia. Thank you so much for watching, though. Race 1 of 2014. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. I'll see you for the next one in Malaysia. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.